Do you feel like so much has changed since you became a mom? Like you barely recognize who you are anymore? Maybe you used to put yourself every day or you used to work out, but here lately you're just living in survival mode. Maybe you're trying to do things that used to bring you joy, but now they don't even bring you much joy anymore. You've changed and things have changed since you became a mom. Now the question is, who am I as a mom? Today I'm going to share with you about how this is a very common feeling, but how we can begin to start to walk towards getting excited again about who we are as a mom now. We know that the world says that babies are burdens and that they really keep us from living our best life, but we know that's not really true. We know that babies are always a blessing, even when being a mother doesn't always feel fun. I'm going to share some ways we can begin to feel good in our own skin again. If you're new here, I'm Lana, a mom of 5, and I help new moms who are living in a state of overwhelm and sleep deprivation just transform into the capable, faithful, and peaceful mothers they have always longed to become. If that's you, I would love for you to hit subscribe. And before we dive in, I know I'm talking to new moms, but just in case you also happen to be pregnant, I wanted to let you know that I have a free workshop that helps women transform their whole birthing experience. After 5 natural births, I have learned some birthing game changers I really want you to know, so the link is down below. Okay, so first let's tackle the feeling of the loss of our identity. We're just cutting right to the core right here. I can certainly remember feeling this way. Before I had my first baby, I had just trained for my first marathon, my only marathon, and I was in some of the best physical shape I had ever been in. And then after having the baby, not only could I not find time to run, but my pelvic floor sure did not feel like running. I'd always put my identity in the feeling of being an athlete. No matter what kind of hard day I had had, I could go for a long run, get a sweat in, and just feel better about myself. Maybe you can resonate on some level. No matter what we did before we had kids, of course things are going to change. But there's something about what we put our identity in that can really cause a crisis of sorts. Many people have to face this identity crisis when they finish playing sports, and 100% of the time people have to face it when they end their careers and retire. My husband used to do physical therapy with a lot of elderly, and it wasn't uncommon for him to see a man who was very depressed because he no longer felt important to the world. Maybe he had found his identity in the career of being a big-time doctor, and he was very well respected and made great money, but now he had to answer the question, who am I apart from the things that I do, especially when I don't feel important to the world anymore? I think motherhood presents a really beautiful opportunity to face this question sooner and to really lock in where identity should be. Before having babies, a lot of women find their identity in their careers, the money they can make. A lot of women find it in their beauty and their body, perhaps the clothes that look so good on their body, working out, or just hobbies that they could do in their free time. For me, I had to face the question, who am I apart from the things that I do? Who am I if nobody in the world can see the hard work I am putting in to take care of this baby at home? And am I important, and does my life matter if the bulk of my day is spent caring for a small child? And this is where it was vital for me to get back to placing my identity in Jesus. The truth is, there is nothing I can do to make Jesus love me more, and there's nothing I can do to make Jesus love me less. His love is freely given, though it cost him much. And having my identity rooted in being the daughter of the King helped me, regardless of how much money I was making or not making, regardless if people thought a homemaker was a good use of my education or not. And the list went on and on. But I think the temptation is very real to try to find our identity in something, our worth and importance in something other than God. And I think motherhood is a really beautiful opportunity to bring this to the surface and just make it more apparent. And then let's talk about our bodies. They have gone through the ringer. They have gone through so much to grow a child in us, to birth the baby, and then to nourish that baby. And maybe we're looking at our bodies and we're thinking, this is not the body that I had a year ago. And who is this person with extra weight, stretch marks, bigger or even just changed boobs? And who is this person that is losing their hair? This can be compounded by what I think is an unhealthy culture that glorifies women who can quote unquote bounce back quickest. And when our body may still be healing from birth, or we're feeding a baby multiple times a day, offering nutrition to a tiny person who literally can't make it on their own, our bodies have done amazing things. They have grown a human, sustained a human, and birthed a human, all of this. And I love this quote by Elizabeth Elliot. She said, "A mother is a chalice, a vessel without which no human being has ever been born. She is created to be a life bearer, cooperating with her husband and with God in the making of a child." Our hips may never go back the way they were before. The truth is, they had to move and expand as a baby came through. Our boobs may never be as perky as they were before. And then there might be stretched skin where our body just had to make room. Certainly, this is not easy, but it's a great opportunity to choose thanks, even when it's hard. Thanks that God would choose our bodies to grow a human. Thanks that our bodies can do all of these amazing things with us having to even think about it. It's amazing what a woman's body can do. For me personally, it has been absolutely essential to disconnect from any kind of input that is making me feel bad about my body. Maybe even without realizing it, we're watching or seeing things that are just triggering shame. I talk a lot about this on this channel, but I think it's essential in the pursuit of trying to be a gentle, loving, and kind mother to be so cautious about what kind of inputs we are allowing into our lives. That can be people we follow online, TV shows or movies we watch, or even just people we allow to be around us in real life. Also, I think it's important to remember, and I often have to remind myself of this, is that it pretty much takes almost a year for our bodies to grow a baby. And in my experience, it usually takes a full year to a year and a half to see my body have any semblance of quote unquote bouncing back. But just because something is hard doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. And maybe there is work that needs to be done on the pelvic floor before we can get ready to work out, or physical therapy that is needed to bring the abs back together. But more than likely, it's just carving out time and saying to ourselves that I only have time for what's important to me, and that taking care of our bodies so that we can be strong and have more energy to take care of our families is probably the best reason to start moving our bodies again. And I think this can go for the kind of food we're eating too. Our body is trying to restore nutrients and minerals and all the things, and really trying to prevent against postnatal depletion and postpartum depression. And it's going to need real good quality food to help us do that. So just making sure that we are getting enough food can go a long way in helping us feel like ourselves again. For me personally, I have to keep a lot of pregnancy supplements on board, aim to get around 100 grams of protein. That helps me a lot well into the first year as I breastfeed, just to keep my nutrition good enough to not feel completely toast and depleted. So I want to pause quickly. Tell me down below, have you felt like you lost yourself after having a baby? If you felt like you came out on the other side, what helped you? What helped you feel like yourself again, or even to begin to discover who you are now as a mom? I'd love to hear from you. Sometimes when I'm really struggling, I have to slow down and just think about what I would tell my daughter to do when she becomes a mom. If she called me up just crying and, just freaking out about this, what would I tell her? And it helps me to zoom out a little bit and coach myself through that hard moment. Zooming out, thinking about what I would tell her when I'm struggling, and this is what I would say, because this is what I do. I have to coach myself, and then I have to put what I would say into practice, because it's easy to give out advice, but it's hard to do, right? So this is what I would say. Don't overlook the small wins. We might be lacking what we think is self-confidence because we're a new mom, but perhaps it's self-respect. And self-respect is when we know that we are doing what we ought to be doing when nobody is looking. It's those tiny little do the next right thing moments. Maybe in the exhaustion and depression, we have accidentally just picked up some really bad habits. It's easy to let little things slide. Maybe we're scrolling too much on our phones, or maybe we're using food to cope with our emotions, or maybe we're watching some really unhealthy television just to check out and numb out, because things are hard, right? And all these little bad habits compound, and they just make things worse. And I believe this is when women can sometimes take a turn for the worse. They can start to blame their husbands for all the pain and the problems that's happening, or even blame their kids. And the truth is, maybe having kids is calling us higher. Maybe we're going to have to transform into that next best version of ourselves. So having these little wins is the great first step to gaining self-respect. We are living for the audience of one anyways, not the audience of our family or the audience of social media or the audience of any other person we can please but the Lord. He sees us. He sees how exhausted we are. He sees us changing diapers and getting up in the middle of the night and doing those feeds. He sees us. He gives grace upon grace. And yet, by asking for his help, trusting in him, and then doing the next right thing, little by little, we can transform into the better version of ourselves. Maybe, just maybe, I know we are more selfish than we thought before we had kids. Maybe we had a lot more time and maybe even more money at our disposal and we didn't always use it wisely. Maybe having kids can reveal new levels of sin in our lives. This happened for me when I realized after having kids that I did not know I had actually been an angry person before. It's kind of like the analogy of when you shake a Coke can. What spews out is only what was already there to begin with. Life and motherhood can just shake us up like that Coke can, and it can be super eye-opening and very humbling to see what comes out. Have you heard of the word sanctification? Sanctification is a journey of becoming more like Christ, and sanctification includes an internal transformation, a change of heart and a mind, leading us to desire to love God and to love others more. I've heard it said before that our sanctification before kids is a bit like a pebble that's just being softly smoothed out over time by the rolling waters of a little creek. But I've often heard that sanctification after kids is a lot more like being put in a rock tumbler. The sanctification can feel a bit more painful and a lot more aggressive. But if we submit to this sanctification little by little, we will begin to see our hearts change, to soften, and our minds begin to desire to love God and love others more. Maybe before kids, we could casually make the choice to work out when we wanted, to casually read our Bible when we wanted, or just to do the little small habits when we wanted. But for me, after having kids, it's like I had to fight for it. It didn't come easy anymore. If I wanted extended time in the Word, I might have to get up early and go to a coffee shop, or I might have to ask my husband, hey, can you hold back the waters a little bit on a Saturday morning so I can get some time in the Word to myself? Or I might just have to leave my Bible on the counter continually and get in the Word whenever there's a free second. There have been seasons in my motherhood where I had to do the same for working out. I know that our bodies are meant to be moved, and one of the best antidepressants there is exercising. And I can struggle with postpartum depression. I really, really can. So, moving for me is paramount to feeling good and getting those feel-good hormones flowing. We're not always going to feel like exercising. In fact, we're usually not going to feel like it at all. And the crazy thing about exercising is that it's exercising more and more that makes us want to exercise. So waiting for the feeling to come means it's probably never going to come. So tell me down below, what part of what I've shared so far has felt helpful to you? And if you have any wisdom you can offer a new mom who may be struggling, I would love for you to leave it down as a comment below. I love when we learn from one another. This is called Girl Teach Me, not Lana Teach Me. So I love hearing from you guys as well. My last thoughts are, I think the struggle is good. I think it's good for us to struggle with who we are now as a mom. I think the struggle's good if we wrestle with who or what we were putting our identity in besides Christ before, and embracing that perhaps the best is yet to come. That coming into all of our fullness as a mother is what we've always been made to do. It doesn't mean it will be easy, but I do believe it's going to be worth it, especially if we lean into the challenge of motherhood and fight the good fight of trying to build small but powerful habits and stay connected to the Lord. This is going to help us transform into the loving, gentle, kind mamas we have always wanted to be. And if you want another video to help you on your motherhood journey, consider checking out this video I did on the difference between self-confidence and self-respect. I argue that we don't actually need more self-confidence. What we really need as a mom is more self-respect. I'm sending love your way, mama, and I'll see you again in the next video.
It's so unnecessary dwelling about the past, 'cause I know that God is good, He led me to where I'm at. Sometimes I feel like giving up, you're giving in, but everything happens for a reason. It won't always just like iron, sharpens iron, making me stronger, calling me higher. When we come together, just like iron, sharpens iron, making us stronger, calling us higher. When we're helping each other, we're growing together.